Well, Willow Creek, happy Father's Day. And I'm so fired up because you're about just to feel some fire. We have NFL Hall of Famer, two-time Super Bowl champion, Ray Lewis in the house. Yes. All right, Ray, I just want to jump in. I mean, you grew up in Lakeland, Florida. You were part of Kathleen High, the Mighty Red Devils. I did my homework. Then you went to the University of Miami, and then you're drafted as a rookie, 26th overall. 25 guys went ahead of you.
Yeah.
25. Keyshawn Johnson, Tim Biakabatuka, Simeon Rice from the University of Illinois. All those guys went ahead of you.
He remembers all of this.
All of them. You go from Kathleen High to this, to next slide, you holding up a Super Bowl trophy. Yeah. How did you do it?
Can we go back on those slides?
Yeah.
I tell you what, right? So if you go to the first slide, the Kathleen slide, it's something really interesting, and it's ironic, right, that we do this right now. Because at that, I was 17 years old. I was 16, I was in the 10th grade in Lakeland. And my mother, at the time, she had to give me away because we were too poor. So she moved to Tennessee, and so she had to leave me back home with my grandmother. But something happened. Ironically, this is Father's Day. Something happened, and I received a letter in the mail that my father, who I hadn't met, had changed my name legally. But I didn't know him. This picture, I got my first jersey, and my jersey was Ray Lewis, right? And so I received this letter in the mail, and I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know him. I'm not gonna change my name to a person I don't know. And the first person, listen to me, God is so amazing. I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, Mother, I wanna have a conversation with you. Can you please tell me where my name comes from? And I'm gonna fast forward through it really quick, right? I'm laying in the incubator. My mama calls, she's 15 years old. She has me at a very young age. But I'm laying in there. My mom cannot pay the hospital bills. She calls my father and she says, you have a son. He hangs up the phone on her and never comes to sign my birth certificate. So a friend of my mom's who was in the military, she said, would you do me a favor? Would you come sign as my son's father? That guy came and signed as my father. That guy's name was Ray Lewis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I met Ray Lewis one time in my life, my junior year, and I shook his hand and I told him, thank you for your name, and I promised to make it great.
Whew. Man.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you get a story like that,
yeah.
and we've seen you, we've just cheered you on, and then I see a picture like this where you are on your knees praying. When did Jesus become real to you?
Okay, now I'm not gonna tell too many bad stories because this is a good weekend, right? But the first time I fell to my knees where I was broken at 10 years old. I was broken. My mother had just got done being physically abused. And my mother's a very high yellow woman. And he beat my mom so bad that I remember holding her and I was squeezing her dress and I said, one day you will never have to deal with this ever again. And I remember I didn't have a father, didn't have nobody to bounce ideas off of or pain. And I remember going to my garage. I had to live in the garage at the time. And I stayed in the garage and I fell on my knees and I just prayed and prayed and prayed. The next day, they appointed me as junior deacon in the church at Greater Faith Missionary Baptist Church. And they asked me to pray. And I fell on my knees in church and I started praying, but nobody knew what I was going through. And everybody in the family was hiding what my mom was going through. So I was asking the Lord, can you please send somebody to help me for these men can stop beating on my mom? And that's when my prayer life became greater than the pains that I was feeling.
Come on.
Yeah, and that's why my prayer life, when I started to bring that to the National Football League, I would bring holy oil. My mom would give me holy oil every week, and I would bring holy oil into the locker room, and I would go around each guy, and I would put a cross on their forehead before the game.
Let's go, come on, let's go right now, let's go. Let's go. I got it.
So prayer, my mom, she introduced me to God very, very, very early, and I fell in God. I fell in love with God very early.
You know, what's so beautiful is, you know, we're used to seeing the purple, the 52, but underneath, you'd have this shirt, Psalm 91 on it. What's so important to Psalm 91? I heard you recite this before every game.
If we never understand where our protections come from, I played a very brutal game. Every hit was a car wreck, right?
Especially from you.
Well, it looks good on TV when I'm the one make the hit, but I feel the same pain that they feel it. And so, you know, I used to always go through my Bible and Psalms 91, safe in the Lord. He that dwells, dwell. See, you got to dwell with the Lord. You have to spend time with him. You have to understand what it means. And I knew every time, God forbid, I had 9 surgeries throughout my 17-year career. But if you understand what I made it through, I don't have brain problems. I don't have knee problems. And I'm telling you, one of the things, Psalms 91, when I started putting that shirt on up under me, I felt invincible. I felt like there was nothing I couldn't do. And when I felt pain, I would shake it off and say, come on, Lord, I need you to deal with that for me. I need you to deal with that for me. And I kept moving, man. So the Bible is many scriptures, just like today. Whatever day I wake up, whatever the date is, I read the Proverbs in the morning. Yeah. Whatever the date is, I read the Psalms at night, right? And I meditate on that. Because when I go and give words or give messages, I always want to give something that I can touch somebody directly right now. And that was a way that I could touch my teammates bigger than just winning or losing games. Yeah.
You know, when you would have your name, you know, from Lakeland, Florida, University of Miami, Ray Lewis, and all of Baltimore, MetLife would go crazy, right? Yeah. You would come out and you would do this dance.
Who is that guy?
I mean, and it's kind of like a little cha-cha slide meets Hulk Hogan meets electric slide.
You gonna try it?
I'm not afraid.
I would love for you to try it, please.
All right.
He's unbuttoning the coat.
All right. So you gotta say Ray Lewis.
Introducing number 52, Ray Lewis.
Oh yeah.
I love you.
That's right. I do that every meeting I walk into. Every meeting. And it's just you feel something. All right. Back to some truth. You could, man, that I like pulled a muscle. When you hit people, it was vicious. I just want to know, who was your favorite person to tackle? Who'd you wake up every morning going, dear God, let me see Ben Roethlisberger? You know, like who was it?
No, for me, it was anybody really that had on a different.
Don't look at me, bro. Don't look at me like that.
I'm thinking about coming back one more time. No, but you know what? A person that I think I used to just, for whatever reason, I used to love getting to Brady.
Yeah.
It was just he was just that guy.
He's a guy.
I love getting to. But let me tell you something interesting.
He's a Michigan guy.
Right.
And he's a winner.
He's a Michigan guy. He's a winner. He's a champion by all means. But go back to that last picture, because it's something you got to know, right?
Yeah.
And I want to share this with everybody, because this is really interesting. I was at a very low point in my life in 2000. I went through something very challenging in my life, right? And when I came through that, the movie Gladiator came out, right? So remember when Russell Crowe started coming out of the tunnel, and he would always pick up the dirt.
That's right.
And he would feel it. So I had he's a retired military vet named Kirby Lee, and he lived in my hometown. And he always did this dance, right? And I said, Kirby, you know what? One day I'm gonna do your dance, right? And he was like, you're not gonna do my dance. I was like, I'm gonna do your dance. So I went to my coordinator, Marvin Lewis at the time, who was Cincinnati head coach. I said, Marvin, can I do something? He was like, yeah, go ahead. So I come out and I do this dance. And the stadium erupts. They're like, this has to happen every week.
It's the Kirby.
Emails are flowing in, whatever, right? And so I started adding music to it and everything. But as I started to realize how powerful it became, I wanted everybody to understand something. When I started coming out that tunnel, definitely at this place, right? When I went to the right, that was for the Father. When I came to the left, that was for the Son. When I came down the middle, it was for the Holy Spirit.
Wow! Man.
Yeah.
That just happened. I'll never, to the right, to the left. Man, I didn't know. That's amazing. Well, and what's amazing too is you would, if you see it on YouTube, you would put the part of the field on you.
When we had regular grass, it was easier for me to do. So then they put in turf, right? So I went to the owner and said, I need a side piece of real grass for y'all to bring it here every week. and so they started bringing in this real grass to give me what I needed to do for dance.
Well, Ray wants, Ray gets. Hey, you know what's so awesome is that you have so much fun on the field, but off the field, you're the same guy. You know, you got yourself going in to meet with inmates, and you're going to hospitals, and you just got back from doing these kind of kids football camps.
Yeah, Ray Lewis Academy.
Yeah, tell me about it, because you do something different at these academies. You bring these kids in, and you have a conversation, a sit down with them. Talk about that.
So I had 83 guys come in, top juniors and seniors in the nation at the running back and linebacker position. And so while everybody else worry about their talents, I don't care about making them better athletes. But when they come to my academy, I want to make sure they leave a better man, right? So when they come in the room, And so when they come in this room and they sit down, the first thing that we all say, God first.
That's right.
God first. God first, right? I ask, what's your name? You got both parents? I want to know who you are. If I don't know who you are, it's impossible for me to challenge you. It's impossible for me to push you. And so you look at these kids' eyes, and 98% of these kids are fatherless. The fatherless is missing. So when you walk around camps and you're touching them, you're saying, I love you. Yeah. Come on, I'm going to show you how to do it. Yeah. Every young man, even the broken kids who are in gangs, they're looking for the same touch. Yep. So when you see the prison, right? I go into a prison, I do my podcast in the prison, right? But I sit down and there's 15 people around me with this podcast. From right to left, grandfather, uncle, son, brother, cousin, life in prison, fatherless. And I asked them, so what is the message, right? I need to take this message of the mistake you made. Tell me the mistake you made, because I need to take that back to the streets. Wow. Because we're still destroying each other the exact same way, right? You're going to children's hospitals. I do it without people knowing it. Somebody snuck this picture. Yeah. Seriously, because I don't like sharing it, because I like just going, right? And when you sit in there, and she was so cute, she was like, are you going to teach me your dance? She was like, I know the whole thing. Yeah. Like, I can do everything you do, you know? And then there's another kid, God forbid, he passed. Oh my gosh, one of the sweetest kids ever. And I used to walk in there, he said, I know every one of your speeches. He said, I can recite every speech you said. I know you lost here, here, here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go in there, and what I do, because they can't leave, a lot of these kids can't leave. This is at St. Jude's Hospital in Baltimore. And a lot of them kids can't leave. So what I do is I buy all of these gifts, and I bring Christmas to them. I bring their birthdays to them because they can't leave. So what my mother did for me when I was younger, when she did have to give me away a few times, she was working on my belief system. She was working on, I needed to understand how good God really is. even in your times of pain. Wow. You see? And that's why I give back so much, because these young kids at the camp, this one kid, he broke down just yesterday. He was like, my best friend just killed himself yesterday. 17 years old, right? And the only reason why, and I asked him, I said, well, is anybody else sitting you down when you go to camps and talking to you? No, nobody cares about us. They just want us for athletics. And I'm sitting there saying, well, guess what? Today you're not leaving here just an athlete. You're gonna leave here a better man. Because if you leave here a better man, you go home a better child, you go back to your team a better leader, and you go back to your community a better person. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Whenever you've got a platform like you, I saw this picture and I just love it because you got critics. Everybody's got critics. How do you handle the critics?
I'm too busy for my haters.
What do you mean by that?
I'm too busy. I'm doing so much, I ain't got time to think about my critics.
That's beautiful.
I tore my, absolutely. When you too busy, you want them to keep talking because they get to keep watching, right? And so I tore my tricep from the bone.
Yeah.
2012, my last year. I'd already declared I was gonna retire. I was working with a guy who was doing some development in Florida, and his kid was 10 years old. And he was acting up in school, and I called him, and we had a long talk. He was like, Ray Lewis, my favorite player. Dad, you don't know him, but call me. He's like, this can't be you. I want to meet you. You need to straighten up in school. He straightened up in school. To tell you about not just this moment, he spent his own allowance money, and this ring, he bought his own allowance money, and this ring is Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed shall prosper.
Come on.
And I have not took it off since.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hey. All right. I love that you said that, because in your last game, you broke down a huddle, and you're in the huddle, and I saw you. You were like, no weapon. All the guys were like, no weapon. Formed against me. Formed against me can prosper.
No weapon.
And I watched you, and I just saw all of these incredible men just kind of citing scripture. And so walk with me for a second, because I got this idea. I got an idea.
Now, when he got an idea, we got to be careful. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing. I started to think about this because I watched all of these moments of these huddles with you.
Right.
And I watched athletes, strong, incredible men, look at you, and you would break down a huddle. And I had a thought in my mind.
Okay.
I want every man to stand up in this room. Every man to stand up in this room. And I know you played with Terrell Suggs and Wacko for Flacco, and I know you played with some good players, but let me tell you something. I look across this room, and there's some incredible men.
Yes, sir.
Some great men, some great fathers, some great stepdads, some great grandparents, some great mentors, some great coaches, some great leaders.
Yeah. And
here's what I want.
Yeah.
I want you to break down the huddle right now. If you had 1 second, that's the Super Bowl. That's one game. We're doing life.
Yeah.
I want you to fire us up. I want 30 seconds of the best Ray to make my day. Come on.
That's putting me on the spot.
Come on.
No, listen. Every father, every grandfather, every son, and you gotta go this route if you're gonna go there. Because what I wanna deliver today is, without us, there's no future. If we don't get back to being a father is somebody that doesn't say yes a lot. Most of the times it's gonna be no. Because he know it'll save you in the long run. If we don't get back to not being our kids' friends, but being their parents. See, I'm looking at grandfathers who, when I was growing up, I couldn't listen to the same music you were listening to. I couldn't even be in the same room if grown folk was having conversation. But now we've gotten so many kids so entitled, and they think everything is such instant gratification. But if you go back to teach them a small principle of life, while honoring thy mother and honoring thy father means exactly what it means. And God says, when you put me first, I am Alpha Omega to all things, right? Once you put the kids back in order, just think about this. Think about what we have to fight as a culture now. There's no way prayer shouldn't be in schools. There's no way young babies are taking lives of other children. And if enough men don't get together and change this, we will get the next phone call. We got to do something. See, firing up people in a huddle for a game is one thing. But the new mission God gave me, he told me to close that chapter. I've done that. Hall of Fame, that jacket speaks for what I've done. I'm here for about where I'm going.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's time for us to go somewhere. It's time for us to do some real, I'm only sharing what's been in my spirit for the longest of longs, because I'm telling you, something is broken. And you know what's broken? I gotta say it because everybody's standing up. I need men to be okay with being men.
That's good.
That's it.
Willow Creek, can we give it up for Ray Lewis?